Hello friends and welcome back. I'm Enterprise Architecture. Well, I've got a purring kitten beside me and a big cup of tea, and it is a cold, dreary day outside, so that means it is time to get back into more Vintagestory. So last time, as you might remember, we finished up most of our clay forming here, so we made a pretty big dent in the things that we are going to need for this next stage. We also got our charcoal done, which means it's about time to start making some bronze tools so that we can get a little further in the pack. Now, the first thing that I really want to do here, as I mentioned last time, was get started on farming. And to really do anything with farming, we're going to need a bucket. That's kind of the big barrier to the next stage in the game, at least as far as moving forward with farming goes. And so for that, we are going to need a saw so that we can make the bucket. And for the saw, I have these hand saw molds that are added through a mod, I believe. So this lets you make a very easy saw that you can then use without having to actually do any anvil smithing or anything like that. This just gives you an early game saw. And that saw we can then use to cut wood into planks, and then the planks we'll be using to make a bucket. So that's going to be our big goal for the day, is making a bucket. So I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but it's a very slow game these days. When you're just poking your way through Vintagestory here, not trying to rush the game, it's a little bit at a time that you have to do here. It's a little bit of an incremental game in that regard. So we've got our crucible. But to really do anything else, we are going to need to make the tongs that we need here. And I need to remember the recipe for those tongs because it has been a second. Oh, well, it looks like my memory is bad. We actually need rope to be able to make these tongs. And for that, we are going to need wild vines. Now, I thought that maybe you could make rope in a variety of other ways, but it looks like this is the only way to make it. So we are going to need to go find some vines. It looks like we have one wild vine in our inventory at the moment. So that is a start, but that means we're going to have to go out into the wilderness a little bit here and see if we can't find some of these trees that might have some vines on it. And you know what? It looks like we lucked out that these might have vines that they'll give us right away. Actually, it looks like those are not breakable vines. It looks like that's just block decoration as far as I can tell. So we're looking for real vines, not just the fake decorative things. Or maybe they're just not coming off because I'm not doing something right. I think these might be real vines though. Let's see here. Can we get these off? There, that came off the tree nicely. I thought there was a second one. There we go. All right, so now we should be able to take these and make our coil of rope. That coil of rope that went with sticks, and there we have some wooden tongs. There we go. All right, we'll grab up some more sticks as we go, and now we can just head right back to our base. That didn't take long at all. I thought we'd have to wander in the wilderness, but one of the big advantages of having this ruin we found right next to the mountains here means that we can get pretty easy access to a lot of common ingredients. Notably, we can get access to things like wood and whatnot without too much trouble. What we don't have access to, unfortunately, is food. As mentioned in the last episode, I think I spent, 20 minutes just wandering around looking for berries on camera, and probably about 45 minutes off camera looking for berries. So that was a bit of a problem for us. I forgot I got these extra mushrooms, these tenderhoofs that we can eat. Let's go ahead and throw those in there too. All right, so we're going to drop our extra grass back off. Now we have the wooden tongs we need. So all that's left to do is to take our copper and to take our tin and combine that to make a couple of ingots worth of bronze. Now, I believe that those hand saws blades each take a single ingot. Let's see here. How much do we need? Mold making, definitely not 40 copper ingots. That's not right. 40 copper bits. So yeah, I think this is roughly 1 copper ingot's worth that we need for a hand saw. I believe that's right. But we'll go ahead and make a little extra here because we also want to make the pickaxe while we're doing this. So let's go ahead and get this smelted up. The one thing I should have done is to go ahead and make ingot molds, but I did not. That's going to be a bit of a regret for me because extra unused copper and other ingredients can always be used to make ingots later. Generally, the ratio I'm going for here is basically 2 nuggets of tin for 18 nuggets of bronze. That seems to work out fine, but again, I'm going to save a little bit of my tin because it's a little bit more rare. I can find copper nuggets just about anywhere. All right, so that gets me my my crucible ingredients there so I can start smelting this up. But to actually smelt this up efficiently, I don't want to use all of my charcoal here to do all of the cooking from the start. Instead, I'm gonna go grab some of my peat and use that to heat it up. We've got plenty of peat, as we saw last episode. So we're gonna use this to get up to the base temperature here. And the temperature of peat, as we can see here, it goes up to 1652 Fahrenheit. But the charcoal will get us to 2372. Bronze, of course, we have to get up to, 1742 Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. So to get there, we're gonna slowly heat up to get very close with peat. And then once our peat is most of the way there, we can then move on to using charcoal to get us those last few degrees over the hump and get this smelted up. So all we have to do now is just keep an eye on this and watch it slowly heat up. Again, this is going to be a very slow process to get this all the way up to temperature here. We might actually need a few more peat bricks because it's not just the fire that has to get up to temperature. The whole crucible and everything in it has to as well. So we're just going to hang out and wait for that to do its thing. Slowly but surely. We're already up to 700. That's pretty good. Slowly ticking away here. All right, so we're burning down our last piece of peat here, and that's going to get us within the ballpark here of where we want to be, that 1652. So let's go ahead and add our piece of charcoal in here just to get us over that edge here, because this should get right up to almost 1652, if not, yep, exactly 1652 with 4 pieces of peat. So that works out nicely for us mathematically. The charcoal is going to burn for a little while longer, but we're still going to want to keep an eye on this because we do need to make sure that this all goes all the way to a full completed arrow. So that's just going to take a little bit of time. As this is slowly heating up, you can see the nuggets actually have a color shift on them. So you can see that they get very, very yellow as they get hotter. And so this should start the smelting process now. I'm going to drop in one more piece of charcoal. There you go. You can slowly see that green ticking up. It needs to get all the way to the other end there. And I do think that's going to at least be one more piece of charcoal maybe after this is done as well. But it's just going to take a second to work its way through. All right. It does feel pretty cozy here listening to the torch noises as we're going. I love a good wood fire. I haven't done a fire pit yet this year, and I feel like I'm kind of regretting that. I really should throw together something in the backyard and invite the neighbors over and sit around with some nice toasty beverages and hang out for a little while. I think it would be a good thing to do, but just haven't gotten around to it. I feel like the weather has been a little too wet and rainy here to really have people over and enjoy the backyard. Over the summer, I took some time and actually strung up some lighting out there, some of those like cafe lights, and I think that worked really well. It looks really good. Oh, more charcoal. Time for more charcoal. Can't be neglecting our duties. But yeah, it just has that, nice warm glow there. I moved to the house that I did mainly so that we could have that backyard and kind of be able to have a nice outdoor space to enjoy. My previous place did not have any sort of a yard, living in an apartment building, so it's been nice to have a little bit of space, some place to do a little bit of gardening. For those of y'all who listened to the EA Farm playthrough that I did, or watched it, I guess I should say, you'll know what I'm talking about. I spent a lot of time talking about some of the gardening I was doing in that pack. But now it's only our fall crops coming in real life here. Just the lettuces, and hopefully my Brussels will come up, and I still have some late season carrots that hopefully will be coming up here as well. All right, we're almost there, and that means we do need one more piece of charcoal. Whenever this temperature dips like that, it dips so rapidly that you aren't going to lose your progress necessarily on this, but it does mean that you are not going to get any more progress. Basically, it's going to hold temperature for a little while. All right. Let's clear some room for that crucible. We have the tongs in our offhand, so we're not going to get burned here, but we do want to take this outside here, and it looks like it's nighttime already. And we're going to go ahead and fill up this mold. And you can see there it's 200 units, it says. It looks like the pickaxe mold, I was wrong. It's only, whoops, I stood right on it. It's only 100. So we can actually just go ahead and set this down for now. Hopefully, if we pick this back up actually and put it on the fire, there's a chance that it'll hold its heat a little while longer. But yeah, that's going out pretty rapidly. Hopefully this will hold long enough for that mold to cool down. Otherwise, we're just have wasted an extra entire ingot's worth. And I don't know if we can get it back out of the crucible. I think you have to melt the whole thing down to get there. Or break it down with a chisel, maybe? Maybe it's the chisel we'll need. Honestly, I should have made a chisel in the first place. That was a mistake on my part. All right, so this is slowly going to cool itself down. I think we should probably go ahead and take a little nap here while we wait for that to finish. Let's see here, 21:42 at the moment. I really should turn that off from 24-hour time because it always messes me up. But we do want to wake up probably in about 2 or 3 hours here so that we can see if that has cooled down completely. All right, still very early morning. How are we looking on this? Yeah, that has cooled down almost entirely. We may have slept a little while too long, but the good news is that both of our molds are now done. So we can go ahead and make our bronze pickaxe. That's only 1 stick. I keep thinking I'm in using Minecraft rules here. And then my hand saws I can make as well. We're gonna make 2 of those. All right, let's see if I can remember how to make a tool rack. That would be the other thing that would be really helpful right now. It looks like we can do a whole bunch of sticks, or we could just do 2 boards. And of course, that was the thing that we wanted to make today, right? We wanted to go ahead and make some boards. So let's grab up our hand saws and we can do that right away. We're gonna make basically all of these boards right here. We're gonna go ahead and do 2. And make up at least 1 tool rack. That's going to hold 4 of our tools for us. And let's just put it, I don't know, right over here on the wall so that we have access to it. We're going to take our handsaw that we're not using, and we're going to put our pickaxe over here as well. We don't need to carry around our pickaxe all of the time. All right, so with this bronze pickaxe, we now basically have access to everything up to iron. I think we can mine now with no trouble. So that's going to be a good place for us to be. But we can now also go ahead and make that bucket that I wanted. So let's go ahead and see bucket hook. I'm going to come back to the bucket hook, but we just want to make a wooden bucket. And I believe, why? It's telling me what it can hold. Oh, that's because this is an aged bucket, right? We want to do one that we've actually made. Let's just look at the pine recipe here. Yes, the reason why that's not showing up is because we're using the vanilla variants mod, and so you actually have to go find the vanilla version of this to make it. And we either need flax twine or we're going to need another coil of rope. I should have planned for that previously, so this time when we go out and get our vines, we're going to get a few extra vines just to be safe because we know that we're going to use them for some of these other recipes. So I'm just going to venture out here. Oh, here's a cave. Oh, we've already seen this cave. There's some copper in there that we can start mining at a future date when we actually need to start getting more copper. Let's not fall off the edge of the world, but we are going to try and go over here just looking for some vines. I don't really see many over this way. I thought I saw more beforehand, but they're not showing up for me. And I'm probably just like walking right past them while you all are yelling at the screen being like, it's right there. Yay, it's right behind you. There's one. I think I see one up here, right? In this vicinity. There we go. Those are birch branchy leaves. And then right there. Okay, perfect. There are our vines. If we see any more right here, let's just go ahead and grab them real quick. I'm sure we're going to need them for other crafts in a moment. Yeah, nothing springs to mind here, or at least I don't see any immediately. Whenever I hear that light rustling, I always think that I'm going to find bees. Oh, there's olivine. But frequently it's just the wind or the water. So yeah, that white noise, that's clearly a waterfall here somewhere that I haven't found. Ah, there it is. There's the waterfall. Not bees at all, after all. All right, a few more vines for us here. And then we're going to head back to base and we'll go ahead and make that bucket. And with the bucket in hand, we can start... Oh, there's some vines. Lovely. All right, with the bucket in hand, we are going to start doing our first gardening today. We're going to get some seeds in the ground, if at all possible here. I have lost my way. Yeah, the base is back this way around this little lake here. Oh, there's some quartz over here too. A whole bunch of quartz over here. That's great. All right. And we'll just head all the way back over here to our home base. Oh, hello. You're outside now, aren't you, white-tailed deer? Okay, great. All right, so where should we start our farm? It looks like we have some forest floor here, which should give way to some low fertility soil. So we might need to go a little bit further out into this field to be able to find some. Now, for this, we are also going to need to make a hoe. So let's go ahead and grab our flint and nap that up real quick. One of these should be the hoe. Shovel, knife, spear, chisel. There's the hoe head, right? Okay. I very rarely nap these. I feel like most of the time when I'm playing, I end up finding one in a ruin, and so I just don't even bother having to make any. I can't remember the last time I actually had to make one of these. All right, but there is our flint hoe after all that, and we will go ahead and make our bucket real fast here. Let's see here. I didn't even need to come inside, but whatever, we're here now. All right, so let's grab that coil of rope, and then we can go ahead and make our bucket. There we go. Do we have any spare room in here? Yeah, let's go ahead and throw some of these extra items in here. We'll put this here. Yeah, just like that. All right, now we have a bucket. Buckets now mean we can carry fluids around. That's going to help us considerably. Let's go over here to a water source. We're going to grab a full bucket there. And I believe we have a little bit more dirt this way that we can use. Yeah, this is medium fertility soil. I did put down those cranberry bushes I found, so we do have a little bit of food hopefully coming in here in the near future. But this space, I think, is where we're going to start actually doing our real planting here now that I can put water wherever I want. All right, so let's go ahead and dig all this up real quick, get all these ferns moved out of the way, and this is going to become the first area that we plant in here. Yeah, there we go. Let's get all this nice and cleared up. And we did see some high fertility soil not too long ago on the map. Where did we find that? Yeah, it's just over the river. Maybe we hike over there, since we are really early in the game still, and get ourselves just a little bit of high fertility soil so that we have something to work with. Oh, that's a scary cave. We're not going to go in there yet. All right, here we are, a whole bunch of high fertility soil for us. Let's go ahead and grab up a bunch of this. We don't need to grab up all of it, but I do want to grab up at least, let's see here. I'm going to do a couple of donut blocks of soil here. So let's say 32 pieces bare minimum, and that will be enough to at least get our starter farm going. We'll want to come back and get more at some point, but I don't want to have to, spend all day here digging up all of this soil. I guess we could go ahead and get a stack. We're here, we may as well do it, and we're just doing some chores this morning anyway, so. All right, we have gotten more than a stack now, but we'll go and grab those last few pieces, make sure there's no stray pieces, and now we can head back to base. All right, well I did find some almond mushrooms, and I believe that those are still good for eating as well without poisoning you too much, so we're gonna grab up all of those. That's good. I do need to check and see if I have the thing where we can plant spores. These are not the ones I'm looking for, but I thought that there was a mushroom farming mod in here. I'll have to look into that later on, but always a good thing to do, growing some mushrooms. It's basically, it's free food. You can't argue with free food. Okay, let's go ahead and get this taken care of. We are going to add a macro here for Control-Shift-1, and then we're going to do waypoint, add ATI, so put a point on the map. We're going to use the cave icon at exactly the same location I'm standing at, 000, relative 000. I don't remember what the true is, but then black is the color and then the note that's going to go with it. So there we go. And now we should be able to make macros all that we want to be able to add caves. So I did that just here, and now this cave has been marked, and hopefully I won't then just fall into it. I did want to stop and show that there is this cute little ruin just on the other side of the river from our little base that we're setting up over here, and this might be a good thing to start mining out all of these resources. There is an ore vessel here, but I'm not going to break it because I'm pretty much full on inventory at the moment. But this might be a nice thing to build a nice little gateway over to our island here at some point. Peninsula? I don't know if it's actually connected. Did we determine if it's connected? Yeah, it's kind of a peninsula, I'd say. Or I guess there's a fancy word for the thing that's between two rivers, and I don't remember what that is right now. All I'm thinking about now when I say two rivers is Wheel of Time. All right, let's just go ahead and get the rest of our bushes put down here. And actually, we want to make sure that we're stacking the current bushes because that's going to make them take up a little less room, and that's going to be useful for us. We're just going to add to this row of cranberry bushes here real fast. There we go. And for now, we don't have that many currant bushes, so I don't actually feel qualms about stacking them like this. That'll work fine for us. We'll just hold on to these ferns for now. All right, so first things first, let's build ourselves a little well right over here. That'll give us access to water whenever we need it. Okay, grab up that one piece of dirt, and then I think we want to empty the contents right there, and then we pick it back up and we have another bucket of water automatically. We're going to grab our high fertility soil here, and we could go ahead and dig down and put this in the ground, but honestly, that's just extra work for us at this point that we don't need to do. So instead, I'm just going to place it right on top of the ground here, with the understanding that at some point in the future, we'll probably have a nice little path here running through this area. And we're just going to do a couple of donut blocks real fast here. Oh, and I broke my knife. I still call them donut blocks. I've talked about this a couple of times. From the days of when I used to play SimCity 1, which was a lifetime ago. And back then you would build these little residential and commercial blocks. Whoops, that's not how you do that. You would build these residential and commercial blocks in this same sort of a donut shape, basically. And that was a way that you would have a nice little area in the middle here in the same way that we're putting the water. Instead, you would use that so that you could have a park in the middle, or any other building that you want to raise the value of the buildings around it or make them grow faster. So that's typically how we would do that. All right, so we're gonna walk back over to our base. We need to grab up all of our seeds now that we've cleared out our inventory a little bit. Let's drop off these extra ferns. Here we go. We have some onion seeds, we have some flax seeds, and we have some turnip seeds. Now, I really wish we had about a dozen times more flax seeds than what we found. I can't believe I only found one flax seed so far in the whole area. And I'm already starting to lose my bearings a little bit, so I am gonna have to start marking this, but luckily that purple star there, it knows that this is high fertility soil for us, so it is going to remember that. Let's put our flax closest to us, just so we have it right here, because we're gonna grow a lot more of that. We are gonna go ahead and put down all that we have of our onions here, and all that we have of our was it turnips and onions that we've got? Onions and turnips, right. You'd think I would remember that from the 5 seconds that we had looked away from it. All right, so these are just gonna go in right here, along that edge. Oh, and we need one more. There we go, turnips go there, and now we can do onions as well. It's still early in the year, so these shouldn't have trouble growing at this point. I think that it's warm enough where we are at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That should be plenty for these. We will know as soon as we plant them though, because it should say, yeah, that's gonna need 100 hours to grow. Growth speed is 109, 109, and 109. So all of these are gonna go, the turnips are gonna go pretty quick, but the flax is gonna take a little while for us to get through. All right, so we do need to do a couple of more things here to call this done. First things first, I need to cut down a couple of trees here. And the reason why I want to cut down a couple of trees is I need some logs because we need to make some rough fences to go around this. The biggest problem you're going to have when you're building a little farm like this is critters getting into it. So we're going to do two things. We're going to build a fence around it. That's going to handle the bulk of protecting it, but we're also going to go ahead and put around it a little moat. And that's just basically going to be a little rabbit run for us. The rabbit run should, in theory, catch any critters that end up coming around here and trying to eat up all of my delicious crops. So for right now, let's just go ahead and make a rough hewn fence. That's going to be the easiest kind for us to make at this point. I'm not going to go ahead and make the fancy fence with the boards yet because we don't really need it. This is going to be more than enough to protect our area from any animals for right now. There we go. It's pretty close. It's basically this diamond pattern, so we just need to do that real fast. We did have enough logs left over, so I should be able to make a couple of these if I want. Remember to put your axe in the top corner, and then we're just going to fill in with sticks. That's going to give us 2 gates. That's plenty for our purposes at this point. All right. So let's go around this area here real quick, and we are going to put our fence up. Again, just protecting our investment as best we can. I'm going to take some extra dirt here and use that to frame this as well. That'll make it a little easier to dig out this rabbit run that I'm thinking about. Just like this. think we've got almost enough. We might be just a little short. Yeah, we're just one short, which is easily fixed. All right, there we go. Put that in place. We're going to put our fence all the way down this way, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put a gate here, and we'll put a gate on the back side as well. Just like that. Oh, not that one over there. We'll come back for you in a minute. All right. Okay, gate goes here, and then we'll just connect this right here. Perfect. All right, and now we have a nice little gated area, and that should basically protect everything. Pick you up. But now I also want to dig down about 2 levels right underneath here, just like this. And this is going to provide our rabbit run. This is what's going to actually protect our various garden items from being nibbled on a little bit. Okay, and on this side, we probably only need to go down 2. Yeah, this should work fine. Most of our animals... Whoops, I dropped a rock on myself. Most animals can't jump higher than that, including, I think, all of the drifters as well that are going to be appearing. So this should take care of it. The only thing you really need to keep an eye on is making sure that you do look at these pretty much every day, because if you end up having a fox fall down there, it can eat any bunnies or anything else that might show up. Now, as I mentioned before, trying to generally not play through this in a way that I'm harming a lot of animals. But again, in this particular game, bunnies tend to be a little bit difficult to deal with. They tend to eat all of your crops. And since they're such willing participants, I think they might end up becoming a source of sustenance for us here. Again, it's a brutal survival game, but I'll make sure any of that sort of survivalist stuff happens off camera, so you all don't have to worry about that. All right, there we go. So the last thing we're going to want to do here is make ourselves up a ladder, a couple of ladders, honestly, and that's going to provide us a way to get in and out of this space. So let's go ahead and we're just going to throw those seeds on the ground for now. Not going to hurt anything. I am going to just put the top one here, just so we're using it up, and we're going to grab back up those maple seeds. Let's plant our maple seeds down here. Just keep the ecosystem going. Okay, so there's our farm, nice and protected. Alright, so the last thing I want to do today is try, before the sun completely sets here, to get our cattails planted, because we do want to have a lot of cattails on hand in the future here. So I'm going to clear out just a little bit here, some of these birch bushes, these lily of the valley, get all this out of the way a little bit for me here. And then I'm just going to start laying down rows of cattails here. This is going to be a source of cattails for us for a while, should take care of all of our immediate needs, and then we can start getting a lot more baskets put in place as a result. There we go, just slowly getting these into place here, picking up all the ferns as we go. I need to make another knife sooner rather than later. I seem to have forgotten to do that. There we go. And I also have a couple of pieces of tulle, and I'm going to go ahead and plant that. Tulle is going to be great because that'll let us make a thatched roof if we want later on. So let's go ahead and get our tulle planted here, at least as a starting point. There we go. All right, so it's going to take a while for all of this to grow, but that should work out well for us. And we're just going to keep an eye out for other tulle or anything else that we are going to need. Alright friends, well, as the sun sets here on another day in Vintagestory, we made a lot of progress today. You know, we got our first bronze tools made, and we got our initial little garden planted here. So we are going to be ready to take on the rest of this adventure with those things in hand. For tomorrow, I think we're going to go ahead and go on a little adventure. I need to find a whole lot more seeds. So I'm going to pack up some food and we are going to go exploring. But all that's going to happen next episode. So for now, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!